Welcome back to Digging Deep, the podcast where we offer bereavement bites for time-pressed professionals and where we explore the trends, challenges, and stories that are shaping the future of death care in Canada. I'm your host, Heather Kiteley, President and CEO of GFD and second-generation funeral director. Today, we're recording live from the Alberta Funeral Service Association AGM and conference in the beautiful Edmonton, Alberta, an incredible gathering of professionals committed to elevating the standards of care that they provide to families every day. In this episode, we're diving into what I feel is one of the most impactful areas of our profession, helping families plan ahead. Now, in our world, for death care professionals, we refer to that as Preneed. And it isn't just a practical decision for families. It's a gift of peace of mind, and I think the most powerful way to ensure that families' wishes are honored. Yet helping families see the value of pre-planning requires skill, empathy, and a whole lot of courage to have difficult conversations. But before we jump in, if you're enjoying the Digging Deep podcast, please make sure to follow, leave us a comment, and I think most importantly is to share this episode with someone in your life who might find it valuable. Your support helps us bring and keep these important conversations on the forefront. Joining me today is Heather Harper from Serenity Funeral Service in Alberta. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
4 years ago, Heather entered the death care sector by joining Serenity as an administrative assistant in the pre-planning office. She has a really cool origin story, so we're going to talk about that. She's a recent graduate from the Mount Royal Program for Funeral Directors. While she loves the support that she can bring to families during their time of need, she found that her passion is for pre-planning, and that is a passion that we share. This is like going to probably be my funnest podcast, because one of the things that Heather and I talked about when we first started is that this is our jam. We're gonna have a lot of fun today. So Heather is a Yukon girl who continues to move further south. She has a small family with herself, her husband, and their 5-year-old son.
Yep.
Busy times.
Yep.
And it's because of her son that she truly believes that pre-planning is a wonderful idea for all families, not just ones with old folks.
Nope.
Welcome, Heather.
Hi.
So glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, so let's start with you telling our listeners a little bit about you.
So like you said, I'm from the Yukon, and I just continue to move south with my family. Went from Whitehorse, Yukon to Fort Nelson, BC, where my parents worked in the oil patch. I worked in the oil patch. Shifted from
that sounds cool.
I shifted from oil patch to banking, and then decided I was going to go to school to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And that didn't pan out. Moved to Edmonton with my then boyfriend, now husband. Worked for a little while, and then we had our son. And while I finished up my mat leave, started thinking about going back into work, applying for admin jobs.
Yep.
Applied at Serenity Funeral Service.
And you think, okay, I'm just gonna apply to a funeral home.
And it wasn't even, I'm just gonna apply to a funeral home. It was, they were posting for an admin position.
Yeah,
temporary admin position.
Yep.
It fit in what I needed. I wanted part-time, temporary. My son was 1.5 years at the time. So applied, walked in. I met with at the time, she became my mentor, Tracy Wood, if you remember Tracy.
Yes.
And she asked me, she goes, "Are you interested in the death care industry?" And no, I have no interest in becoming a director. Exactly, it's a job.
Yeah.
And she gave me the job the next day.
Amazing.
And for 1.5 years, it was, "Are you sure you don't want to become a director?"
Yeah.
No, I don't want to become a director. I'm happy here. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And then something shifted.
Yeah, talk about that. What shifted?
I honestly don't know. I think it might have been the conversations that I had with the families every day about pre-planning.
So when you're doing admin, in that admin role, you're also communicating with families?
Yes, because they're phoning in, right? Yeah. So they're phoning in and well, I want to pre-plan for myself. I want to pre-plan for my mom. I want to pre-plan for my grandmother. And I'm having these conversations with the families, right?
And you're seeing Tracy in action.
I'm seeing
imagine.
Tracy in action. I'm seeing our pre-planning advisors in action.
Yeah.
And then I'm also helping out with admin stuff on the funeral home, right? So I'm seeing all of that in action. And
so you're getting a window into the at-need side of the business.
Absolutely.
Right? And that was really key for me. So when I was an at-need funeral director for 10 years, of course, grew up in the funeral home, but then I started to notice in the at-need role that like people had a completely different experience when things were planned ahead.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it was that experience that motivated me to say, okay, like I just want to dedicate my time to helping families figure that out.
Exactly.
Was it the same for you?
Kind of. Yeah. It was looking at it and seeing how less stressed those families are, right? They're not sitting there and arguing with, I have 4 younger siblings, you know, and I can only imagine the arguments that would happen of, well, I don't want mom cremated. I want mom buried. I don't want mom buried. I want mom cremated. Yeah.
Do you know, I read an article a number of years ago that talked about how when your parents die, no matter how old you are, you revert to the relationship that you had with your siblings when you were small children.
Yes.
Right? And you see that playing out over and
I've
over
seen that
again.
playing out absolutely when I'm making at-need arrangements. But seeing families that walk in and they've got that pre-arrangement to start off with. Yeah. There's no arguments on burial or cremation. Then it's just tweaking the little things, you know, adding keepsakes, creating the memory cards, you know, like that gets easy.
Yeah, and they're spending time on the stuff that they should be spending time on, right? Yeah. Like, I think that's the part, and you know, it's hard to test. It's too bad you can't test drive this stuff, right? Like you don't want to test drive it,
no.
Right? But it's too bad you can't, because what happens at need is that because people are free from those decisions that ultimately don't make a difference to what their experience is like what kind of casket you have, etc.
Yeah.
They're free to be able to focus on the things that they should be doing when someone dies.
The memories and processing their grief. And exactly. No, that's, and it makes things easier.
Yeah. So then you have that experience.
Then I've got that experience, exactly. So I got my license.
Wow, congratulations.
And
that was 4 years ago.
No, I actually just graduated.
Hey, congratulations. That's awesome.
I'm part of the Mount Royal grads for 2025.
Oh,
so
fabulous.
Yes.
Wow.
So I've been licensed for 6 months.
Okay.
Tracy retired while I was in school.
Congratulations, Tracy.
Yes.
If you're listening.
And I took over as pre-planning manager 6 months ago.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
What a trajectory.
Oh, it's been a crazy journey, and I wouldn't trade anything for it.
And you're a young girl growing up in the Yukon, not imagining that this is going to be your life. Right?
No, my dad.
Here you are.
My dad has actually said, like, he still lives in the Yukon. My mom and my stepdad are still in northern BC. And my dad has said numerous times, I never thought that this would be the route you're going.
Yeah.
But seeing how fulfilled I am with my job and seeing how proud I am of what we do, he couldn't be happier.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's interesting how universal these experiences are, right? So for those of us, in a specialty in pre-need is a bit of a unique skill set, right? Like if you look at the death care profession, there's not a lot of people who move into that particular specialty. No. Right? And it really is a specialty because the whole world of pre-need has become so complex.
Yes.
Not just on the financial services side of it, although your background in banking probably helps, but one of the things that I really want to talk about today is just the shifting changes and the complexity around services and what people can do.
Yeah.
So as you know, we put out a survey recently, or our second survey just went out, and our results are showing, again, that 53% of Canadians want to have some kind of ceremony. Yes. They don't necessarily know exactly what that is, but they do want to have it. And 35% are kind of on the fence. And so, I mean, I left frontline pre-need 20 years ago almost now, which is like amazing to me that I feel like it was just yesterday that I was doing it. But even then, 20 years ago, I was finding that it was just arrangements were longer and there were so many different choices that it was hard for people to navigate. So talk to me about what it's like today. How do you navigate that 35%? How do you help that 35% who really have no idea what they want to do?
Honestly, it's just kind of providing them options for things, but limiting those options, right? You're not taking them in and handing them a book full of caskets and say, here's a book full of 50 caskets. Pick one.
Yeah, which one you want?
Exactly. It's those little...
And then they all kind of look the same. Like,
yes.
Let's be... One of the things, we like to keep it real on the podcast. So for those who are listening in the death care sector, we apologize in advance. But really, for the uninitiated, for people who don't get super excited about caskets, like, they all kind of look the same. So
I know.
So tell me how you help people with that.
It's more conversations of what would mom want?
Yeah.
Would mom want a wood casket or would mom want a metal casket? And then from there, kind of like what color, what did she have a favorite color? Especially with a lot of our caskets and urns now, you can get all kinds of different colors.
Like, even that's a whole podcast. We might like have another podcast with you where we're just talking about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll do a product selection podcast would be really interesting and probably informative for folks outside of the death care sector who are listening to this. But sorry.
No, that's okay. So that's kind of how one of my mentors taught me was you limit the selection.
Yeah.
Don't walk in with 50 caskets and 20 different urns and 15 different colors for their memorial cards, and talk to them, find out what their loved ones' likes were, find out kind of who they were, and then you can kind of help guide them to what is going to work best for them.
I think that's huge, right? Learning, and that all comes from, like, in pre-need, you need to be able to build trust really fast, right?
Yes.
And so learning about the person, finding out what, why would you present them with an option that wouldn't even, that they wouldn't resonate with them anyway? Like, I always use the example of, why would you show a yoga instructor like a 20 gauge steel casket?
Exactly.
Makes no sense at all.
No, you're going to show them like something like the glam bar or the seagrass, right? It's something a little bit more natural.
Yeah.
I recently had a family that I met with. We didn't end up doing a pre-need with them, but we did a discussion file with them. And this family connected with me, and I carried them all the way through from the moment of their discussion file all the way to their memorial service 6 months later.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that connection that I had with them was amazing.
I think you've brought up something really important that I know we're getting close to time because I feel like we just started talking about. Anyway, I think is really important for those who are listening who maybe aren't from the death care sector to understand that pre-need doesn't mean that you have to do everything, and it doesn't mean even that you have to prepay.
No.
So I think this, maybe some people think that that's a barrier, right?
So when I'm having conversations with the families about pre-needs, and they're, well, what if I change my mind later down the road, or what if I have something selected that my family doesn't use? That's fine. Those funds will go back to your estate, and then they'll go to whoever the beneficiary in your estate is. They're not assigned to the funeral home. You're never going to have those money back. They can use those funds for more flowers, or if you're doing a cremation, they can buy keepsake jewelry, right? You're not locked in, but those pre-needs, those discussion files where it's not paid for, gives your family a starting point.
Gives them a place to begin,
right? It's a jumping off point where they're not struggling to figure out what you wanted for your services.
Yeah. I always used to say that when you have, I used to say to families, there's two pieces, right? There's the plan, and then there's how are you going to pay for things, right? And if you can marry those two things in advance, awesome. But not everybody can do that, right?
No.
So then if you can't, having that plan is just a place for everyone to start, calms the whole discussion down and gives guidance as opposed to just sort of starting from like nothing, right? Yeah. I really think you've given me a great idea. We do need to have a podcast on how do we help families decide on product, because it has gotten really, really confusing and really challenging.
Yeah.
So, Heather, we talked a little bit earlier about how important it is to build trust immediately. So talk to me a little bit about how you do that. And then I want to talk a little bit more about product.
Honestly, I don't really have any set way on immediately building that trust.
Okay.
I've had a few people tell me that I'm almost like built for this industry. I'm just a warm person. I'm open. I'm usually very shy, but but I think because I am quiet and I tend to listen a little bit more, that helps the families just talk.
And you have to have a healthy amount of curiosity, right? And want to hear about all of the things about the person.
So when I'm doing arrangements, I'm usually asking them, well, what did mom do? What did dad do for work? Oh, really? They did this, they did that. what were
So
their
do you
hobbies?
sorry to interrupt, but do you talk to, so for those who don't do this every day, so
Yes.
you're talking, I can imagine how it works.
Yes.
But we have probably a whole bunch of listeners, some who might be like me and know, oh yeah, I can relate to that. But there also might be some folks who've never even stepped foot in a funeral home.
Mhm.
And for those folks, I want to speak to them for a minute, because I found one of the barriers for people doing anything as it relates to pre-planning is that concept of, who am I going to meet with at the funeral home? Oh my goodness, right?
Yes.
Am I going to meet, is it going to be scary? Is that person going to be pressuring me into something? Like, that idea that the media portrays about death care professionals is,
I know.
it's terrible,
It's,
right?
it's really terrible.
And look, let's just take a minute, look at,
Yeah.
could we have a nicer person to talk to about these really difficult subjects? So I just want our listeners who don't have experience to understand that almost everyone in this space is very much, like you and I, warm, welcoming, and
we just
curious.
We want to make sure that whatever services we're providing for you, for your loved one, is what suits them, right? I'm a book nerd. I'm a computer video games. I have a full sleeve video game tattoo. I am very nerdy
So probably
and very
people aren't
quiet.
expecting that, right?
No. So I walk in, and to be fair, when I'm at home or at the funeral home, I'm usually wearing like a long sleeve cardigan, because I don't want families to immediately judge me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You need to be neutral for people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that allows them to really kind of open up.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So then having those conversations of, well, what was your dad's hobbies? What did he like doing on the weekends?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can kind of guide them to finding things that are going to suit him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to put somebody who's a big nature person into an urn that is steel gray.
Yeah.
Right.
So before you even get to talking about product, you already have, through listening to that person and asking questions about them, you have a fully formed idea.
Yes, while I'm getting those vital statistics information, right?
Yes.
So what was your parents' occupation? Okay,
Yeah.
and where were they from? Oh, okay. So they're from a rural area.
Yeah.
Oh, did they go hunting? Did they like fishing?
Yeah.
Or did they like, painting? Tell me about them.
So it doesn't feel like a grand inquisition.
No,
it's really more
no.
of a curiosity discussion.
It's very much, like you walk in and tell them, okay, we're gonna collect some vital statistics information, and it's a little difficult to kind of get that information, but if you don't know it, that's okay. We can move on to the next question.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a conversation. It's not a interrogation of next question.
So one of the things I heard a lot, and I don't know if that is the same here. I worked in an area for a long time that was 95% cremation.
Mm-hmm.
In an area where there had been a trend for a long time for direct cremation. And one of the things I experienced when I was talking to families, they'd sit down and they would be like, okay, so when Dad died, we had, we didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We know we don't want to do that for Mom,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know what we want to do. So, you get to that point where you're sitting with the family, they don't know what they want to do. They don't even know if they want burial or cremation. How do you navigate those discussions?
So it's more, those conversations for me is more of, okay, we can plan something immediate, a direct cremation, a direct burial. And then 6 months down the road, we can plan a celebration of life, whether or not I'm involved in helping you run it, or I'm just providing memorial cards and a guest book and video tribute for you. I can help you with these, right? Are you wanting to take Mom to be scattered anywhere? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing, right? Yeah. I'm from the Yukon. I want to be scattered back in the Yukon. So because I live in Edmonton, obviously the best course of action for my family, if I were to pass away, would be cremation.
Right.
And we did that for my grandmother. She passed away in Salmon Arm. They did a direct cremation, and then about a year later, we all gathered in the Yukon and had a big celebration of life for her.
Yeah. Because cremation isn't a means to an end. It is just simply a form of disposition. A lot of people don't think about that. Yeah.
No, exactly. And like my parents, they have decided that they want to be cremated, and they want to have parts of their remains scattered in all the really cool places that they've been.
Yeah.
And they want all of their children to go there and do that.
Amazing.
So it's okay. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. It's not set in stone.
It's not prescriptive anymore. My
No.
dad's day, it was prescriptive,
Yeah.
right? You would come in, everyone did the same thing, everyone had visitation, everyone had a funeral, and
Yeah.
which church were you
Reception
going to, right? That was the
yeah,
biggest
yeah,
question.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's not prescriptive. And so that is a little bit of a double-edged sword in a way,
Yes.
right? So it's great that there's choice. It's great that there's options, but there's also an explosion of choice and an explosion of options.
Exactly. And in those conversations that you have with the family while you're collecting the vital statistics information, that's when, at least myself, I'm able to kind of start formulating in my head, okay, this family isn't going to be suited towards a metal casket.
Yeah.
They're going to be more suited towards the wood caskets. I'll ask them, like, well, if they were to pick a wood, would they pick like a cherry color or like a natural color?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I can provide them like 3 options of caskets instead of providing them 20.
Yes. Yeah. And that just relieves them of that burden. Because I think when you have too many choices, you become a little bit paralyzed.
Well,
right?
you can become a little bit paralyzed and you become a little bit like choice blind. You just
Oh,
kind
that's a
of
great
get
expression.
overwhelmed, right? So
that it's almost like, okay, there. That one's fine, right?
Yeah. So then your family is then not only are they dealing with their grief of losing their loved one, they're also now overwhelmed with all of these options that we can give to them.
Yeah, it's true. I found it a little bit overwhelming for folks,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, it was overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this my whole life.
Exactly.
Right? From the time that I was a small child. So my dad died in the spring of last year, and I found that interesting, right? From the perspective of how difficult it was to finalize his arrangements. And I was sitting there thinking, like, I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
All of us here, we know what we're doing.
Exactly.
I can't imagine. It just sort of gave me that perspective and of like how difficult it must be for people who are just have no idea. And those people who show up in our offices who had no idea they were going to show up in our office that day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, you can't say it enough for folks just how, especially with all of the choice, especially with the desire to make things meaningful and having a meaningful ceremony, how important it is to get those decisions done ahead of time. So let's use that as a segue to talk about ceremony.
Yes.
So you are like a good multi-generation younger than I am, which is good.
34.
34. Okay, beautiful. So you're a millennial.
I'm a millennial. Yep.
And your generation, your generation is amazing to me. You guys celebrate in
Everything.
Everything. And it's awesome, right? It's like you have figured out, it's like your generation knows intrinsically that our time here is finite and that things that happen in our life deserve time and reflection and deserve like that we should stop and celebrate this, right?
Yeah.
So I think that millennials will completely transform for the better the death care sector. I'm really excited for what they're going to bring. Have you started to see anything like that happening yet?
I've definitely seen more celebrations and more trads for the younger people that have passed away that are coming through the funeral home.
Are are millennials influencing parents' decisions yet? Are you noticing?
I haven't noticed that yet. Personally, I've influenced my family doing video tributes and like trying to like blow up these tiny little photos or like enhance photos or Photoshop them. I've definitely phoned my parents a few times. You need to make sure you've got at least one good photo that I can use for your obituary. So it's definitely shifting over.
Yeah.
So it.
Good for you. I had no influence. I used to say to my dad all the time, "You've got everything prearranged, right?" He'd be like, "Nah, you'll be fine."
I've been on my parents for the last 2 years now.
Yeah.
And then I've been telling my husband for the last 2 years as well. I'm gonna prearrange for us too.
Yeah.
That way our son doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, right. Because you have a 5-year-old, and so I have a son. I have a daughter and a son. And the son is my son's our youngest, and he's now 19. And so, just you know this already, but it just goes by so fast.
It goes
right?
by so fast, and then in the industry that we're in, you never know.
You realize the vulnerability.
Exactly.
Right? It changes. We have the whole. If you have a chance, listen to a podcast that we did about how being a mother in funeral service changes how you parent.
Oh
so
my
interesting.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've definitely. I mean, I've been a funeral industry.
The whole time you've been a
basically,
parent.
yeah. My son was 1.5 years when I entered the industry.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had a chance to parent not in the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes you a little nutty.
But I definitely, I definitely find that I cherish those moments a little bit more, especially when I have children come through.
So when you think about your family and you think about what you want to do for your prearrangement, talk to me a little bit about that. Do you find yourself thinking, this is what I want to do? Or do you find yourself thinking, this is what I think would be best for my family?
So when I'm thinking about my own prearrangements, I'm thinking I'll probably do like a memorial cremation and have a couple extra dollars in there for my son to use for any keepsakes that he might want.
Yeah.
Right.
Keepsakes are really important. So when my dad died, all of the grandchildren wanted jewelry.
Yes.
I was surprised.
When my grandmother died, I don't think there was a conversation about keepsakes. And it was very much of, now I wish that there had been that conversation. Mind you, part of that millennials, I kept every birthday card she ever sent me. So I have those keepsakes, right?
Yeah.
But just something to carry with her.
I think it's really important for the younger generation. I was chatting with my son's friend the other day. His grandfather died, and he had his grandfather's ashes mixed in with tattoo ink, and he used that for a tattoo.
Yes.
And to him, that was like,
yes, yeah, people are doing that.
Yeah.
I find that the blown glass keepsakes are.
Let's talk to our listeners a little bit about that, because I don't think a lot of people know what those are.
So the blown glass cremations, they're mixed cremated remains into the glass, and they create these most beautiful, almost like constellation orbs.
Amazing.
And I feel like everyone is going to be different.
Yeah.
And it just kind of
gives
gives
like a
that
unique piece of art.
Yes, and it's not just an urn sitting there, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to have all the cremated remains in there. You can have a little bit, and it's a piece of art that your family can carry forever.
Yeah. Amazing. And so one of the things, this has made me think about one of the things that I used to worry about all the time when I was doing Preneed, and that was, with so many options, I wanted to sort of walk that fine balance of making sure people knew what their choices were, with all of the million things you could do, especially cremation families, right? Without causing them to feel overwhelmed. So there's that delicate balance. We've talked a little bit about how you manage that, getting to know the families and whatnot. But I always worried that, because there's so much, is there something, and you talked about this earlier, is there something that I haven't talked about that maybe they would find out about later and wish we had talked about it? Like with your grandma.
There's those conversations, and when, at least at our funeral home, our mentor, she has had those conversations of ask them.
And that's where
they can say no.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but ask them.
So you're risking upsetting people because it's like, well, maybe, I'm getting a little tired here. Maybe it's too much. But you have to have the courage to push in that area.
Yes. So the big three that we always ask every time is, do you want a lock of hair? Do you want a fingerprint?
Yeah.
Do you want DNA?
Yeah.
Right? The DNA is the big one. Fingerprints are a big one.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a cremation.
All the grandchildren love the idea of the fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's a cremation. We can't go back.
It's true. You can't undo it.
No.
Yeah. But we are at the end of our discussion, which has gone so fast. It has been such a pleasure and so delightful to get to know you and to find another kindred spirit in this space. Right? It is a lot of fun. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Digging Deep podcast. And for all of our folks out there who are listening, I hope today's conversation with Heather Harper, so this is like the podcast of two Heathers, gave you some new insights and some practical strategies for mastering Preneed and helping families plan ahead with care and confidence. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow, leave us a comment, and share Digging Deep with a fellow professional. Your support helps us to continue to bring important conversations like this one to our community. Until next time, I'm Heather Kiteley, and keep on digging deep.